We have two Joels here. What's going on?
What the fuck?
Oh my god.
Whoa, someone needs to leave and it's not me.
Yeah. The hole in the space-time continuum.
We also have two Brandons, oddly enough.
Mm. Something is afoot.
Um, so what up, my posse? How's the month been treating you? I think the last one we did was like about a month ago. Wii U hadn't launched yet, Thanksgiving hadn't happened yet. It's December, there's snow and crab and Christmas, whatever. Um, so lots happened. Lay it on me. What's been going on, people? Anyone can start.
All right. Well, it's snowmageddon outside, and I spent 15 minutes yet last night pushing a car into a driveway. So
Pushing a
that's what's been going
car
on. And
into
I'm
a
very
driveway.
yes, because it was stuck.
Hmm.
Something
Because what
is.
happens is the grader comes along every day and obnoxiously creates a snowbank in your driveway,
Um,
and if you try to plow through it with a four-cylinder engine, bad things happen.
hmm. So wait, so I guess yeah, it makes sense that Canada would be pretty snowy, I guess.
There's about 3 feet of snow out there right now.
Jeez,
Oh
kind of
yeah,
jealous. I woke up yesterday to find like a light glazing of snow, and then by this morning it was all gone. So that's
I wish.
Boston, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I hear about this snow stuff every now and then, but I live in California and not on top of a mountain, so I'm not quite sure what it actually is. It has been raining, which is a change.
Hmm.
We get about 10 of those days every year,
Freaking
but
Californian
no, I
good
mean, I
weather
live in the
people.
middle of the state. It's practically a desert. There's very little rain. It doesn't snow. It's foggy sometimes, but mostly it's just really, really hot, and that's about it.
Hmm.
As for what's been up, there was Thanksgiving with the family. I found out that my brother is having a kid, so I'm going to be an uncle, which is going to be interesting.
Ah, you're joining the club. I'm an uncle.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes.
It's a tough job. Let me tell you.
I'm
And
thinking about
thankless.
growing a creepy uncle mustache, just
Oh yeah.
to
I think that might give off the wrong impression, or maybe the right impression, depending on what you're going for.
Now you
Um,
but
just need a man.
yeah, that's what's going on. Family's getting bigger.
cool.
Right?
Um, I don't think Malice is back yet. Um, as for me, I got a shiny new console. Whether or not it's part of next gen or current gen, nobody can really seem to answer. But it's
Who knows?
it's shiny and new, and I've been having some fun with Mario, um, as can be expected. But um, I don't really care for the new Mario series on uh, the DS and 3DS versions. They're everything bad you could say about the series, like all wrapped up into one thing. But the console ones are usually really good. And people look at me weird when I say that, but the level design is really good. And this new one has like time trials and stuff. Has about 20 of them. I've got gold medals on about 14, I think, and
Hmm.
they are very close to impossible to get gold medals on. I should post a video on the forum. Someone on NeoGAF did get all the gold ones, so at least it's humanly possible, but you have to be. I got one, I was like 0.02 seconds under the limit. I mean, it really comes down to the wire a lot. Um, eh, I mean, they take like 30 or 40 tries each. Um, have any of you ever done that, like time trials or
Sorry, what exact game were we talking about?
the new Mario?
Mm. As far as time trials, the only games that I can recall the time trial type stuff in are sandbox kind of games like Crackdown and GTA and Saints
Hmm.
Row 3, which I actually just picked up a couple of days ago on that Humble Bundle sale thing.
Ah. So, but like no. I don't know how it works in sandbox games, but do you beat your head against the wall for like 30 tries before eventually getting it? Is that kind of thing?
It depends on the difficulty of the individual tasks. In Saints Row, for instance, each task has a particular difficulty rating.
Hmm.
Easy, medium, hard, and the easy ones you're probably going to blow through on your first try with minimal effort, and then the harder ones will probably take you 2, 3 tries.
Hmm.
Um, it just sort of depends on what you figure out the first time you play it.
I see. What about you, Frosty person?
What's
That's you,
that?
Brandon.
What's the question?
Have you ever done any time trials for a game? Sorry.
Um, I try to avoid anything that has a clock. You know, I really don't like to be rushed
I
in
hear that.
anything.
Can't stand the pressure.
But there's a game called Cinemora. It's a side-scrolling shooter,
Hmm.
kind of like Gradius or um, yeah. And the idea, like, you have a limited amount of time, and the more you get shot, the more time is taken off of your playthrough. So something like that. But
Ah.
I don't like time stuff.
Yeah, I can see that. I didn't like it growing up. I mean, I was just impatient, I guess, and oddly the any kind of clock seemed to work against my patience rather than uh, joining forces with it, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I worked my way through all the rest of the game, so I figured out I'll try these challenges. Best case scenario, I get to brag about how awesome I did to people like you, like right now. Worst
Yeah.
case, I don't ever mention it and kind of ignore it when it's brought up. But I don't know. I've been having fun. Um, One question I do kind of have, since you guys are all in the know with like your non-Nintendo consoles and whatnot, um, you guys kind of know which of the ports that the Wii U has right now are worth it. Like I heard Mass Effect 3 was worth picking up, even though the ending is apparently bad. Um,
It's not worth picking up.
I've heard
Uh,
Assassin's Creed 3 isn't worth picking up because it's like the worst in the series or something like that.
I've gotten mixed opinions on it.
Mm,
Um, I don't know. The series, I think they kind of stuck with the middle chapter, one game too long, and I kind of lost that really heightened interest that I had in it before, like they did, the first one, and that was one that was kind of critically, back and forth. People
hmm.
didn't really have a consensus on it. I liked it. Second one came out, I liked it a lot. It's my favorite one. Brotherhood came out, that was also pretty good.
Mm,
And then Revelations came out, and it was like, okay, seriously, we're playing the same guy in the same place, doing the same stuff with the same cast of characters, and it was just kind of one too many. And
hmm.
then three comes along, and I guess it changes the game a little bit by switching the settings, switching the characters, and all that.
Hmm.
But um, I haven't tried it myself. I know two different people who have it. Both of them say it's pretty good, but not great.
Hmm. Um, yeah, that's kind of the impression I got. I mean, reading some comments, it seems like uh, Revelations shouldn't have come out, and they should have spent that effort on polishing 3 up, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um,
pretty much. I mean, Revelations was kind of like Assassin's Creed 2.2.1 or so. It was just like,
hmm.
we've had enough of this. It's too iterative. It's not new enough anymore.
Right. Well,
And it's at the point where it's so similar that it's almost indistinguishable. And that was kind of why I got bored and never finished Revelations.
hmm.
I borrowed it from a friend of mine, and I kept trying to play it, but every time I tried to play it, I would just get bored after 20 minutes.
Hmm. It's kind of funny because I believe that was the game that started out as Assassin's Creed for 3DS, and then they're like, well, we can just make an actual Assassin's Creed out of this. So they did, and they put the
They did
kibosh.
make a portable one for PSP, I think.
PS Vita
Oh,
has
Vita, okay.
Assassin's Creed 3.
I keep forgetting that that thing exists.
some kind of. You're not the only one going by the sales. Um,
It barely.
yeah, it sold 168,000 on Black Friday or the Black Friday time period. Um, what's interesting, since we're in the sales talk now, 3DS didn't do that much better, which is kind of really worrying because did like 250,000, and the original DS outsold it over Black Friday. It did like 300,000 or something like that. So that's kind of bad. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, this early
And is this
in the
worldwide
systems.
or US?
What's that?
Is this worldwide or US?
US.
Okay.
Because Black Friday is kind of a US centric thing, like
Mm.
Thanksgiving is. Um, but it's down year over year, which is very bad for a system this early in its life. Should only be down year over year, um, like 4 or 5 years into its life, and it's like only in its second and a half year right now, or no, it's barely in the second year, I guess. Um,
Well, they have been releasing some kind of DS really often. Maybe people are kind of sick of it
they did launch
because they
some,
had like the DS and the DS Lite and the 3DS and
right. Um, yeah, I think consumers are kind of like, what Nintendo needs to do is they need to put the kibosh on the original 3DS. I mean, the original DS, because um, I mean, at one point, it's pure profit for them. Like, they could probably afford to drop the price on that $50 because of how inexpensive it is to manufacture.
well,
Um,
Nintendo's not big on price dropping their consoles that quick.
um, they don't mind dropping the prices on consoles that quick if they can help it. They do not like dropping software sales whatsoever, though. That is definitely one of the things they don't like to do. Um, but consoles like GameCube saw pretty often price drops, but I guess GameCube is a bad example because it didn't really sell that much. Um,
Yeah, it was right there with the Xbox. Neither one of them was that great in terms of sales.
hmm. Right, they kind of sold about the same. Xbox sold
Yeah, it
more, I
was a
know.
difference of only a few million or so.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy to think of a home console selling that little, nowadays.
Right,
Um,
especially when you consider that the Wii sold over 100 million, right? Didn't it
yeah,
eventually get up that high? Yeah, and
it,
then the 360 and the PS3 are both sitting at like the 30 million range or so
no,
at the
they're up to
moment.
like 70 million now.
Are they up there? Okay.
Yeah, especially 360. 360's been putting it out pretty well the past couple years. Um,
I wasn't aware that they had picked back up. It seemed like there was a bit of a lull for a while.
mm, I think Connect really rejuvenated it. Whether, our opinions on that is irrelevant, but
Yeah, whether
um,
that's a good thing or not
it,
remains to be seen.
it's healthy for the platform at least.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just worrying that 3DS isn't selling as much as it could in America. And Japan is doing really well. It's doing like
Well,
over
everything that's a
100,000 every
handheld
week.
made by Nintendo sells truckloads over there. It's kind of insane.
They do have to work at it though. They can't just throw a system out there and expect it to sell like Sony's been doing.
Yeah,
Um,
they probably have to make like commercials and stuff,
and score some exclusive games like
like the
um,
ones that they release all the time.
right. The Japanese liked Kid Icarus, Bravely Default, um, which is kind of this new Square Enix RPG thing. They got a Monster Hunter, um, some other stuff. I only follow Japanese sales like every other week or so. Um, but anyways, yeah, I don't know. I hope 3DS did get a price drop like by $20, I think. So it's like a
What's
hundred.
that bring it to now?
It's 150 now, I think, which is what
Hmm.
the original DS launched at, if I remember right.
The only handheld I've ever had was a GBA, and that was because my sister bought it for me.
How'd you like it?
It was okay. It came with Metroid Fusion and Super Mario Advance 3, I think.
Hmm.
Both of which were pretty good. I liked the Metroid one actually quite a bit. Um, I played that a lot. Not so much Mario, because I felt like I'd played too much Mario when I was a kid, but I hadn't really ever played Metroid at all. So Fusion was a good first Metroid game to play. I liked it.
Yeah, I loved Fusion when I played it. I played a friend's copy. I didn't ever really get to own it, or finish it, um, which is a shame. I hope they put that up soon on like some kind of virtual console. Um, so wait, you had which games did you have? You had Fusion.
And then Super Mario World Advance, I
Ah,
think three. I think.
right. And that was it. You never bought any more games for it.
No, because I don't. The reason why I've never been into handhelds is because I'm not the type of person who like game when I'm going somewhere. When I'm going somewhere, I'm doing something,
Mm.
and I don't really want to have a game console with this giant like bulge in my pocket, awkward thing sitting there. You know, it's just like I can do without it. I don't really see the point.
Hmm.
I could understand it if I was traveling, but I don't travel all that much anymore.
Mm. I mean, I commute to work on the subway, so
Oh, yeah, see, I drive, and
yeah.
gaming and driving is generally bad for your health and everyone else's within 100 yards.
Generally
Hmm.
speaking. Um, Not always though. But even I only have like 15 minutes to game on the subway to and from. Um, so usually I do a lot of handheld gaming at home, which I know is uh, unideal for most people who would just rather play their home consoles when they're at home.
I like my big screen.
But that's why I got the XL instead of the smaller, piddlier version. You know.
Yeah, I actually kind of prefer Nintendo's approach to handheld gaming, because they do focus on a lot of games. You can just kind of hop in and, continue from wherever you were and play for 10 minutes and then stop.
Hmm.
Whereas with the PSP and the PS, whatever the hell is out now, it's sort of like, well, here's a gimped version of what should be a full console game. And I'm just thinking, thank you, developers, for gimping what should have been a proper console game.
Mm.
Uh, Back to that the thing about the third party ports for the Wii U.
Oh yeah,
Um,
right.
I kind of took a sample of a few of the games Call of Duty Black Ops 2,
Hmm.
Batman Arkham City Armored Edition,
Hmm.
um, and Mass Effect 3. And what I noticed was Digital Foundry. They said basically they're all more or less slightly inferior to the PS3 and Xbox 360 versions,
Hmm.
and they said that like for like Batman, the frame rate is pretty jumpy,
Hmm.
and there's some issues with the FMV is kind of slow and stuff
Right.
like that. Mass Effect has a slower frame rate, but otherwise is kind of just a direct port.
Mm.
Um,
Were they just short dev cycles or what? Because the thing should have the hardware to do everything
I
the
think
current gen consoles do.
they only had about a year to do Mass Effect 3. I know that for a fact,
Mm.
according to Giant Bomb. But it just came out actually today that the Wii U uh, has a 1.4 or 1.2 gigahertz CPU
Yeah.
that runs it. Yeah, and that's that's what everyone was talking about with the it's really slow,
The
right?
the
So is that
That's
just
what I'm.
bottlenecking the whole thing?
Yeah,
Uh,
the
yeah,
CPU seems to be the biggest bottleneck. The type of RAM they used is also apparently slow, um, which kind of hurts straight ports. Um, the main problem with the CPU isn't the gigahertz or anything. It's that it's using a very old PowerPC architecture in the name of backwards compatibility. That's the main problem with it. And as much as I love backwards compatibility, at this point it's kind of like enough is enough, you know? I mean,
yeah.
if we're getting, substandard ports and a poor CPU out of it, is it really worth it? I mean, Nintendo kind of put themselves in the position that they had to have backwards compatibility because of the branding. I mean, you can't call it Wii
Right.
something and not have Wii games be compatible. Um,
There was one positive thing, which was that I think it was a guy from Koei who was making one of those terrible Dynasty Warriors games.
yeah, yeah.
He, yeah, he said you may get less characters on screen because of physics and all that stuff, but the games will actually start to look better because of the GPU.
Hmm. The
So I'm hoping he's right.
the GPU
They've
is
never
a
made
step up.
a
It's
game.
like, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
pretty good GPU.
yeah.
Um,
So
yeah,
So we're
so
just gonna have a bad time with anything that's a CPU intensive process.
right.
yeah.
And I did read something like Wii U has a DSP, so it can do you don't have to do audio decoding on the
Oh,
CPU,
okay.
which is what
Hmm.
360 games have to do. So if developers take advantage of that, um, it'll take a lot of the burden off. But if you're doing a straight port, it's probably not going to be optimized very well for that. Not to excuse the poor CPU or anything, but um, I think that's
That's
the situation.
the producer of Tech and Tag 2 said that there are creative solutions. That's probably one of them.
Hmm.
He said that's one of their creative solutions to dealing with the slow clock speed.
Hmm.
So that probably is one of them. You don't have to worry about the audio decoding and anything. And you can offload a lot of work to the GPU. You can,
Hmm.
I'm sure they'll figure out ways. But in the end, it's probably not going to end up that you're going to get games that look substantially better.
Right.
That's what it looks like now, but we'll see.
Hmm. Right. The biggest area of improvement will be texture work because it has, a
Mm.
gigabyte of RAM usable for games. Um, but
And it
whether
has
whether people take advantage of that, who knows?
it's also got the ED RAM, which is a big deal.
I,
Uh,
People have been saying that, but I haven't really looked into that much. So lay it
well,
on me.
apparently, well, in the case of the 360, it has a little bit, which is what you can do AA on there. Remember when they were saying 360, oh, we can do free AA, no hit for on performance because we're going to use this dedicated really fast RAM that's
Hmm.
on the die. So they that will be a major factor too. So that's probably one of the ways in which they're going to get around the CPU issues.
Hmm. There's also people seem to be thinking of it as like a magic wand that'll fix all the performance issues, and it isn't. But it is worth noting that it does have um, general processing on the GPU or GPU, which is basically
Mhm.
doing uh, what should be CPU tasks on the graphics card. Um, and since the graphics card is pretty strong, that'll also be some kind of creative solution for dealing with the bottleneck.
Right. Good point.
So, Brandon, you've actually been more positive on the Wii U than I thought you would be. I don't know, for some reason I always pegged you as like a Sony fanboy. Maybe because you were always like Chad's BFF or something.
Oh yeah.
It's just the gay
Um.
thing.
Yeah, I kind
It's
of
okay.
pigeonholed you two, together.
Uh,
So sorry about that. Um, we,
no, that's cool. No, I. You know what? I like all the three companies. My thing is with the Wii, it was the controller.
Mhm.
I don't like the waggle thing like that. I did used it. I tried it for a week, and I just didn't like it very much. I mean, there were a lot of games that I wanted for the console, but the other problem with it was that I just felt like it was like GameCube quality, and I wish
Yeah.
they had gone next gen with it. And I'm kind of that's why I'm partial to 360. I don't
Mhm.
have a PS3, so I don't even know, but uh, I'm more of if anything, I would have been on the X Play forums. I was called an Xbox fanboy because everyone thought I was, which I kind of was to an extent. I'll be honest now, but now I'm more like I'm not biased. I'll
Mhm.
just evaluate each company for their good and bad points.
Right. I think if you were a general gaming fan, then this generation, then you probably would come off as a 360 fan since it got so many things
Yes,
right. Um,
they, yeah. I
and
mean,
the best ports, I would say.
yeah, the best ports, and also the Wii U. Um, I've been positive on it because at least now they're HD.
Hmm.
At least now they've got the of course the Pro controller,
Hmm.
and the actual base controller actually looks pretty good.
Hmm.
I think. I think it looks a little big. I don't know, but I probably get used to it.
Um,
They. Maybe you could tell me something about that.
It is pretty big. I mean, the screen itself is like the size of a 3DS XL,
Mm.
closed. Um, but it really, I haven't really noticed it that much. I mean, if I was doing like a lot of transitioning between the gamepad and like a normal controller, then I'm sure I would notice how big it is. But when I'm actually playing a game, it kind of just doesn't even matter. The bigger thing that's annoying, I think, is that for games that mirror the image from the TV onto the gamepad screen, you can't turn that screen off during gameplay. You can turn it off, but any button press will turn it back on. So I think it's a waste of battery life on games where you just want to play on the TV. And it's particularly damning for Mario because you can't use the Pro Controller with this game because they have like two levels in the game that require motion controls, and the Pro Controller doesn't have motion controls. So I think that was just Nintendo going, crap, we can't support the Pro Controller with this game. Let's throw in a motion control level. That's my conspiracy theory. Um,
Could be.
yeah, but the biggest thing that they did do is that the mid-air twirl thing. Um, in the Wii version, you would shake the controller to do that. That's now a shoulder button, which is so much better. Like
Mm.
I wouldn't be able to do like half of these time trials if it wasn't for that. So um, thank you Miyamoto, thank you Tezuka, thank you anybody else who worked on this game and implemented that feature. It is very 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 useful. Maybe for the next one you can allow us to use the Pro controller or whatever the normal controller is on Nintendo's system at the time. Um, and also, this is important, you guys. Allow Yoshi to be taken between levels. You let Baby Yoshi be taken between levels. Normal Yoshi can't, and that pisses me off. So
Yeah.
go back to the drawing board on that one, guys. I don't know what you'd be thinking. Okay, that was kind of Andrex's corner a little bit. Um, just had to get that off my chest. Um,
Yeah. Uh,
so Wii U ports. I was gonna get Arkham City. I mean, I don't really care if it's a good port or not. I care if it's a good game and whether the port completely destroys it. Like if the frame rate problems or whatever completely hamper the experience, then obviously it's not worth picking up. But if
uh,
it's just like minor stuff, then I don't really care about that as much.
Digital Foundry said that ultimately, uh, Arkham City is a good game by default. So whether you get it on the Wii U or 360 or PS3 or PC, I have the PC version.
Hmm.
Um, it's good, even though it's not the best. It's they said it's still worthy if you only have a Wii U
Hmm.
and I know you only have a Wii U in terms of the right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So I
yeah.
no.
I've kind of you guys probably don't know this, and this is probably gonna come to a shock, but I kind of had a meltdown on a NeoGAF, and it kind of broke my Nintendo fanboy spirit a bit.
Mhm.
So I'm actually a lot more jaded on the system than I probably come off as on G-Forum. I still like the system a whole lot, and I still like a lot of the games that are coming out for it. But um, I can criticize Nintendo now, and that's a good thing. It's kind of like recovery alcoholic mode almost. But what brought it out was that there's this thread that downloads, even though you have this Nintendo Network ID thing, finally, which is like this alphanumeric thing, and you can actually send friend requests to people, and they'll get notified, and they can friend you back, and it's modern and nice, and
Wait, did they finally get rid of that ass backwards retarded system that nobody should have ever come up with?
friend codes, yes, those are dead,
About
thankfully,
time. I don't know
dead
who
as
thought
a
that was a
doornail.
good idea, but I hope they got shot.
Yes, they're gone. They're still on the 3DS, which is unfortunate, but Nintendo Network ID is their new thing, and apparently that's coming to 3DS. So hopefully that works out somehow. But the thing that really pissed me off was that even though you have this ID and you can sign into it, and they say they're going to have you sign into it on websites and your smartphone, download trigger downloads of games on your console from the website, kind of like how Android phones do it. If you guys have ever used Google Play website to install apps, kind of like that thing. But
Mm.
even with all that, the games are still locked to the console, and that pisses me off.
Mm.
That should not be the case.
Wait, so you can't transfer, like if you were to get a game and play it, you couldn't play it on a different one?
Yes, it is very, 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 very bad.
Wait, so is
Anti-consumer.
that like the whole no used games thing in effect?
No, because if you're buying a digital game, no, this is for just digital
Oh,
content,
okay,
not
okay, I
actual
see.
games. Um,
But still, the same principle should apply. I really hate that about digital games.
yeah, they really need to open that up because I have made some posts that I am not happy with physical media, and this is just
Mm.
kind of proving my naysayers right. Spooey.
Mm.
Um, and I'm going to continue complaining loudly about it until they fix it, which hopefully will be soon. I mean, the
Well,
system's
this
already
goes
in
back a
place.
long, long way, all the way back to CD keys for PC games.
Hmm.
And you haven't been able to resell PC games in forever and ever and ever.
I don't really care about reselling games though, because I've never been one to sell games. I mean, I've sold games, but only because they were bad games and I know I would never play them again. That's
Well, I
pretty
don't
much the only
resell
reason.
through like a retailer, but reselling to somebody you know, for instance. That's something that I have done with console games in the past. Like Gaiden 2, horrible game. I sold it to a friend of mine because I didn't want it. But if it had been some PC game that sucked and a friend of mine wanted to buy it, well, I'm SOL.
Hmm.
And that's not cool. Because I can resell everything else I have except my PC games.
Hmm. It's an interesting way of looking at it. How does
Like,
Steam handle things? They let you
God.
gift games, I know.
Yeah, but if you say, like, you buy a game,
Mhm.
like I bought, what's a game
You
here in
don't
my
own
phone?
it.
Limbo. Like Limbo.
Mhm.
So I buy Limbo, I get tired of Limbo, I want to give it to you. I can't. It's mine, can't do anything with it. It's locked into my account. That's
Mhm.
not cool because I should be able to do whatever the hell I want. Delete it, sell it, give it away.
Hmm. I don't know.
Uh,
I mean,
Because if you say I don't know, I'm going to bring up the literally every other thing that exists. I can do that with computer, book, car,
music.
desk, bed, my
Well,
Okay.
well, well.
CDs.
When you're using the digital media through the Steam service is a little different animal than going to the store and buying a game. And I think that's just I think that's probably just the I guess one of the cons to using the Steam service is you have all the sales, you have such easy access to everything, all the download speeds, all the selection of the variety, but the catch is once you have it, it's yours.
But why should that be the
Uh,
catch? That's the question. And
Well,
I've never been able to think of a good enough reason for there to be a catch.
the market will bear it. That's all.
Right, it's because people are willing to put up with things they shouldn't be willing to put up with. Myself included, I bought stuff off Steam. I mean, they kind of have the market cornered, so what other choice do I have exactly? Or if I
This
want
is
to play
why.
PC games in general, it's the same thing. I could go down to the store, buy a physical copy of Diablo 3. A copy is now mine, it can't be resold.
This is why I've been ranting so much lately about Steam, because you don't own any of your games. If when you buy, you have a subscription to them. You are buying a license to use their software. So, and this is not, they're not unique, but I'm just saying. So you pay $60 for Skyrim. Well, you don't really own it. So if you ever get banned on Steam for any other general reason, you don't get to keep your games. You lose your entire account. Your account could be worth 2 grand. It doesn't matter. I think that's horrifying. And what if I hope I don't get banned one day. But if it happens, then I can't play any of the games I have in it. Do you know how many games I have on Steam? Over 100.
Hmm.
So, uh, uh,
I mean,
if I
it's kind of the same situation. Um, Music stores, downloadable music
yeah,
stores found themselves in like uh, I don't want to say a decade ago. I want to say like 6 or 7 years ago, whenever iTunes did away with DRM.
Yeah.
The market was finally like, DRM is BS. Allow us
Mm.
to download our music and put it between our computers and maybe even give it to people. Although I'm sure that's against iTunes terms of service. But um, people they had DRM versions for 99 cents, non-DRM for 130, and it was just an option. And eventually, DRM free became the norm, and um, dropped their prices to like 99 cents as well. So
Uh,
if it's possible in the gaming industry, it's going to happen eventually. We just need more people like Sarge complaining about it very publicly and openly. Um, Someone will hear it eventually.
I mean, I can understand the concerns to an extent. I mean, because it's on the hard drive and because it's something that can be very easily copied and moved around. Yeah, okay. I understand that Steam would need to be the medium through which you give or resell. You couldn't do it outside because that leads you straight to piracy right away.
hmm
But the fact that there's nothing built into the Steam platform for that is the problem that I have.
Right. I think Kindle has an option that allows you to lend ebooks to people. I mean, it's kind of kludgy and heavily lock in to Amazon's ecosystem, but it kind of seems like companies are taking more baby steps towards that, if only because they're going to run out of features to implement eventually, and this is kind of a mid-sized feature that's important to a decent amount of people. So they probably figure all the all the big features are taken care of. Now let's try and please this other group, this smaller but still notable group. That's my thoughts, I think.
okay. Here's a model that I think everyone else should follow. The GOG model. DRM free. If you want, and you're not, this is against their terms of service, so I do not recommend anyone do this. But theoretically, you can go in to someone's GOG account and download their games. They don't even IP check. I
hmm
like this.
Yeah, GOG is really amazing. I mean, I don't know how they con the publishers into supporting that,
I
but
know, right?
it's really great. Um,
Let's
It
just
must
be thankful
because it
that they
works.
do.
It must work. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it, right? I mean,
I
uh,
guess.
and they're getting bigger. They're getting, they're actually having new games on there now. They have, big titles on there now.
Right.
And I'm thinking, there's something to this.
hmm
Well, there's something to be said for ease of access. If a platform makes something, or if its product is something that people want, there's a demand for it, and they make it something that's very simple to get a hold of,
hmm
I think that in one way is beneficial for whoever's going to make the money from the sales, because then you have
hmm
something that is not a gigantic pain in the ass to get. I
Right.
mean, for instance, say I wanted to watch an episode of a TV show that I don't subscribe to. Well, I'm not going to go out and buy a cable bundle.
Mm.
That's kind of silly. And why would I buy a subscription to their channel independently when I only watch one thing?
Mm.
That's kind
Mm.
of silly too. So, if you make it so that everything is sort of broken down into as many separate pieces as it can be so that people can really get at what they want to get to without having to jump it through a whole bunch of hoops or get a bunch of other stuff with it that they don't really want, you're probably going to find more people that are willing to say, okay, I'll, buy a subscription to this particular TV show off of your website, as opposed to, well, I'm buying a cable bundle, so I'm just going to pirate this shit.
Mm. I actually have an example of that is very pertinent to the discussion. Um, my grandfather, he he plays primarily two PC games, and he's been playing them for over 10 years now, and he's been playing them over and over because they're very replayable games. It's Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri and
Mm.
Masters of Orion 2.
Mm.
And when he got his new computer, those games, the discs, did not work on his new computer, on the new operating system, Windows 7.
Mm.
But GOG had versions of those games that did. And so
Yep.
he went to GOG, and he has a GOG account, and he downloaded them. And this surprised the hell out of me because I mean, it's exactly what Sarge was talking about. It was easy, and he's not really um, the type of person to go out and download a whole bunch of games or buy a bunch of games off of GOG, but it was easy enough for him to do it, and so that kind of proves to me that they're onto something at least. It's just an amazing service. It
Yeah.
kind of feels like they focused on old games at first, kind of like as like a gateway drug to the publishers. Like, you guys aren't doing anything with your back catalog. Why not just give them to us and we'll give you some money when people buy them? And then it's like, well, we're making you so much money already. Why don't you give us some of your newer games? And now, it's kind of like this self-serving event loop. And I hope they do get bigger. I hope they do get a lot bigger because they're definitely doing the right thing, I think.
Great point, and that's why they're no longer called Good Old Games, they're just GOG now, because
Right.
they're trying to change their brand. And I think you're right. They probably started that way because it doesn't cost the publishers anything to give them old games.
Mhm.
And then it proved the concept. Now that they've got their proof of concept, they can go forward and get the AAA uh, newer titles on their service.
Mhm.
But yeah, exactly. I think that's exactly what they were doing.
It'll be interesting to see if there's some kind of um, battle between GOG and Steam and whatever the hell EA's thing is that no one talks about.
Origin. Everyone
Yeah,
hates Origin. There is not a single person who likes Origin. It's terrible. And it made
horrible.
such a mess out of well, okay, BioWare was already disorganized as far as their store and, the games they sell in their deals. I remember trying to redeem a free code that I got for one of the DLCs from Mass Effect 1, and I had to chase down this place where I could download it through like 8 websites full of outdated, broken links that led to nothing before I eventually got to Origin's website, which linked me back to some old BioWare store website that I hadn't found before, where I finally found what I was looking for. And
Oh,
that's how much BioWare and EA and Origin have their shit together. That's how good it is.
Oh man. When I first heard about Origin, I was like, well, this is kind of cool. I mean, there'll be more competition. I don't want Steam completely dominating because that might be
Yeah.
bad. Um,
Monopolies generally aren't a good thing.
but uh, I think I might have been wrong about that because now there's like some kind of like fragmentation. Like EA published games, like half of them aren't even available in Steam anymore.
They
Um,
yanked a bunch of stuff.
yeah. So in terms of keeping a nice and tidy, singular unified Steam account, that's kind of out the window if you like any VA stuff, I guess.
Well, and if other platforms want to compete with Steam, they have to release something that's better. They have to release something that's more user-friendly. And GOG, I think, has that. I've only used their website for a couple of things, but I liked what I saw.
Hmm.
Origin, what experience I've had with it was horrible, and I never want to touch it again. There you go. Now I'm probably never going to buy anything through Origin because my experience with it so far has been completely negative.
Hmm.
And it would take a lot of proving on EA's part to make me willing to even consider going back in there and seeing what it looks like again if they supposedly improved it.
Hmm.
I
Well,
I have a. Go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say, I wouldn't put too much stock into the stores themselves, just because if a game comes out that you really do want that is only available on the service, you're gonna suffer through whatever it is.
You're gonna go to the store and get a copy, because fuck Origin. That's
if
what you're
if they
gonna do.
still
Still
make
need Origin.
copies, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I got
Um,
a copy of Mass Effect 3 from the store because I didn't want to screw with Origin.
Hmm.
That was the
wait,
reason.
wait a minute. You still have to register it with Origin though, right?
Not on a console.
Oh, you got the three. Sorry, I wasn't thinking
Yeah,
of that.
on the
Yeah.
on the console version, because I had the whole series on my 360, and even though I have a PC that can play all that stuff now I didn't at the time, so I just continued it there because that was where all my save content was. Giant waste of time because the third game was terrible and retroactively killed the series, but that's an aside. But yeah, no, you don't have to register your game on Origin to play on the console.
I have like, I don't know, like 10 Origin games, and I use Origin. Battlefield 3, you got to use Origin. But like you said, Andrew, at the end of the day, yeah, it's about, if the games are good, you'll bear with the service.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I agree it sucks, but the only other option then is just to play the console version, which I would if my 360 hadn't gone to heaven. But that's another story. We won't go there. It's very painful.
Mm. And which
There's a great red ring in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
which wouldn't that be down below? Well, anyways,
To hell.
yeah. Which Model 360 was that?
I had the I'm trying to remember the model, the number. There's names. They had numbers for there. They had names for all of the. It was the 2000. It was manufactured in early 2008. So
Is
whatever.
it the Falcon
Okay,
one?
I think that was
The
the
Falcon?
second generation that improved the chip
Yeah.
heating issues and added HDMI, right?
No, it was, yeah, something like, yeah, I think so, probably second or third generation, but it's still red ringed after bought it in June 2008, died in late 2011, few years.
Because
Yeah, my first one didn't even last 8 months.
since I've
I got
broken,
one in December of 2005, the first year it came out, and it died early on when I was playing through Oblivion when it released in I think it was March of '06. And since then I've gone through a few of them. They're not the most reliable machines in the world, that's for sure.
Yeah, Booger Boy Meister on YouTube, he went through 9 of them.
That guy.
I told him, I think you have an electrical problem, something,
I think
I
after
think he
that
has
many, you
more of a
have to
game
blame
addiction
yourself.
problem.
What, Andrew?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, that was
Oh.
me. I said after that many, you almost have to start looking at a different common denominator.
Yeah, that's right.
Has
Not
anybody
represent-
heard anything bad about the slim models?
No.
Moving
Did
them is
did they-
bad.
I have a Slim Model 360. It's great. It's very quiet. Okay, the old 360s, they had the freaking jet engine disc trays. They were horrible. I hated them. The new one, pretty quiet. And the power brick is not nearly as big. And overall, it's an improvement. The only thing that's not as good is that the hard drive isn't as easily accessible as it was on the older versions. I really liked having a hard drive that you could just kind of snap on and off really easy. It's not quite as straightforward with this one.
I might pick up a 360 eventually. I don't know. Maybe I'll get the
Sure.
Microsoft's next one if it has backwards compatibility. We'll see.
Speaking of that,
Well,
go
if
ahead.
the 360's backwards compatibility is any indication, you might not want it.
Yeah.
Barbie
Microsoft
horse
don't
is-
give a hell.
It was pretty terrible.
Pizza.
the
I
Wii.
remember trying to play Knights of the Old Republic via backwards compatibility, and
It wasn't good.
at certain points I was getting like 1 frame every 4 seconds. It was so bad.
Yep.
It was the backwards compatibility on the 360 is terrible. When in Halo 2, on backwards compatibility mode, sometimes if you would bring up a menu, the outline of the menu would stay when you went back into game, so you'd have this like hovering blue square in the middle of your screen that just stayed there while you tried to play, and you couldn't do anything about it except restart the game.
Yep.
Oh,
And that's the downside of switching to entirely new CPU architecture.
Yep.
But it was probably worth it in the long run.
and in the case of the Wii U, it's going to be good because they're actually going to start putting back catalog of GameCube games on the Wii shop.
They haven't officially said that, so I wouldn't put a lot of stock into it.
I thought they said that. Oh, really? I hope they do though, because then and it's gonna they'll actually be good conversions because they won't have to emulate them, right?
Yeah, but you won't be able to use your GameCube controllers or anything.
Right.
Well, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, that horrible controller. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's why it's 20
Well,
bucks.
it's okay. I mean, this is the first one that we had. When did the SNES come out? What year?
91, 90, 91.
91? Anyway, this is the first time in over 20 years that Nintendo has come out with a controller, and we can honestly say, congratulations, you didn't fuck this up completely. And I think that's a good thing. It's only mildly fucked up. It's not completely fucked up like all the other ones were. Like you need to have 3 hands to play the Nintendo 64. Or we decided to just randomly throw the buttons around and give you a C-stick on the GameCube, or wave the wand.
The only one I didn't like was the N64 controller. The other ones I found pretty comfortable.
That's because it's the worst controller ever. Okay, the Jaguar was worse, but the N64 is the second worst.
What about Dreamcast? I didn't really like the Dreamcast controller. That thing was like Xbox
It was
levels.
kind of awkward, and it was a weird controller. It was not that good, because it only had a single analog, which didn't make any sense.
Yeah. I was gonna say, didn't that only have one analog stick anyways?
But on the positive side, it was designed for 2-handed humans rather than 3-handed humans. So.
But who was the Dreamcast competing with? It wasn't the N64. It was with the PS2, kind of.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was kind of like the 360 of its time, except it failed. It came out ahead of time and tried some new stuff. I think it was the first one to offer a unified online service, but it wasn't very good.
Yeah, it had a 56K. It was like SegaNet or something like that.
Yeah, it was. I don't remember it too well because I never owned one and played it only sparingly. I didn't like it all that much. But yeah, it did some new stuff. It just wasn't a very good console, and the controller was kind of eh.
Mm.
If you ask Peter Moore what happened, he'll tell you that it had like the actual reason that the Dreamcast died. I mean, it actually didn't sell well at any point, but the content dried up. He said that it got to a point where they had some good games, and then suddenly they had nothing coming along through the pipe, and everything just fell apart because of that. He denies the idea that PS2 killed Dreamcast. And I agree with him, because I think a good system with good, unique, exclusive games will do well. If you run out of those, then the third-party support wasn't there. Look at their situation. EA didn't even support them, did they?
Yeah, it was kind of a backstabby move, from what I understand.
Yeah, I can't recall anything EA coming out on the Dreamcast, actually.
Sony did something, and EA did, or was it Sega pissed them off? One of them did something, and EA was like, "We're just sticking with PS2."
We're just gonna blame it on Sega because they've proven to be pretty incompetent in the
Right.
past.
And that's kind of my main point. The Dreamcast didn't die because of third-party support or slow sales. It was really Sega's gross financial incompetence that saw the release of the Saturn. I mean, the Saturn bombing pretty
The
much
Saturn was a
doomed.
terrible failed experiment.
It doomed the company. I mean, anything they released. If they released the PS2 after everything they had done, well, maybe the PS2 could have saved them. But anything short of that was just was gonna bomb.
They basically had to hit a home run after the Saturn, and they didn't.
Exactly.
Yeah. Look, my first 3D game was Panzer Dragoon on the Saturn, and that was amazing at the time. Too bad
That
they
was
couldn't
the first.
replicate
The Saturn was
My-
the first console you had?
that. Well, it was the first time that I had played a 3D game,
Oh, okay.
and that was like what 1996 maybe, I don't know, and I was amazed. Like, it was amazing. because all I was used to was like NES, SNES, and but unfortunately, there if you actually look at the library, it's not that extensive.
Hmm.
I think the first 3D anything I ever did was like the pseudo 3D. Okay, you remember um, the Super Star Wars games for the Super
Oh,
Nintendo?
Yeah.
There's this
yeah.
like land speeder level where you're
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
like dunes and there's like obstacles in the way and you have to jump over the pits.
Hmm.
Like that was I think that was the first time I ever played anything that was all 3D-ish.
That was hard as hell from what I remember.
Those games were ridiculously hard. I
Mm.
can't believe I
Oh,
ever beat, especially because I was like 8.
I never got past the first level. Well, there I had the Empire one, I think.
Hmm.
Um, I
That one
think
I
I think was the hardest one actually.
yeah. I never beat the first side-scrolling level. There was like a one of those racing parts that took me forever to get through. Um, and then they had like the side-scrolling part, and that level just went on forever. And they had like all this shit flying at you, like all these attacks and enemies, and it was crazy. And bottomless pits, everything that could possibly kill you was there in full force.
Everything that moved was there to kill you.
Yes,
That's kind of how it was.
it was a pretty
Yeah,
it's
game.
those
like
games were insane.
It was a good-looking
it was
game, good music.
meant to compete with Contra and Metal Slug and games of that really hard nature.
Mm.
Uh, I have all of them actually. I have the emulated versions as well, which I play with my Xbox 360 controller, and it's awesome. Like, but I was playing the speeder mission again like a month ago, and I couldn't beat it. I could beat it as a kid, but I can't beat it now. Go figure.
Playing Super Mario 64 via emulation with a 360 controller was a revelation. It was wow. That was an improvement. I had more fun with it than I had ever had before.
Mm.
I
Yeah, try
tried
play.
to make GoldenEye work, but unfortunately GoldenEye is still bad regardless of what you do with it.
Oh,
Have you haven't tried the remake, have you? That was released on the
No, I never
360.
tried it because I don't know. It's kind of a principle thing. Like I actually started off as a PC gamer. Like I was playing the old Doom, Quake, Dark Forces, those games. And then GoldenEye comes out and everyone's like, "Oh man, this game is so good." And then I play it and I'm like, "This is the worst shooter I've ever played. What is this one thumbstick crap?"
what? You don't
And
like big head mode?
and that caught me some shit. But I mean, GoldenEye to me is a terrible, horrible waste of time. So it's not something that I'm interested in going back into.
Hmm.
I have it emulated on PC, and I have it set for 360 controls, so it actually controls better now than it did on N64.
Well,
But if you don't like the fact that the game is basically tons of enemies running in your face all the time, then like the style of it, then it's not going to work for you. But I still think it's mildly fun as a nostalgic sort of thing for 20 minutes. But Eurocom, they made the remake, um, and they added Daniel Craig, which was stupid. Uh, that made me mad.
I thought it looked
Uh,
I thought it looked cool.
well, then they also did the 360 port, then PS3, right? And then Eurocom just went. They're not out of business, but they cut most of their staff.
Mm.
So all they're going to be doing now are like mobile games and stuff.
Freaking
Really
Activision.
sad. Oh, I know Activision's horrible.
Didn't they? I'm pretty sure GoldenEye on Wii sold over 1 million, and I'm sure it did okay on 360 too. Um, but
Did it come out on the 360?
yeah,
Was it like
Yep,
an arcade game?
no, it was like 007 Reloaded or something. GoldenEye Reloaded.
exactly.
Right, but I mean, did it come out on the arcade though, or was it an actual disc
It was a
Full
release?
retail.
it was a disc, but I think it was like $40 or something.
Oh, 40?
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Um, I don't
If they paid me 40, I'd consider it.
know.
For 10 minutes.
You know, there was a group that was trying to redo GoldenEye in the Source engine. They're
Yeah.
probably still up, GoldenEye Source. And clearly, I'm the only person in this group that played crap tons of GoldenEye while it was out originally.
I played it
Mhm.
when I was out.
Hmm.
Several years later, I was playing Unreal Tournament. That was a fun time.
Unreal's
Well, yeah,
pretty
there's
cool.
that too.
That's actually, I think it's still my favorite shooter ever. The first Unreal Tournament.
Mm,
Good memories of watching loser nerds play that on G4.
I'm not good enough to really enjoy Unreal Tournament. I think
It's a
Half-Life, the
twitchy
original
kind of
Half-Life
game. Yeah.
was one of my favorite games, just because of the integrated narrative. I think really drove everything home.
Hmm.
Otherwise known as the game that never goes on sale.
Half-Life?
That could also be said of Unreal Tournament.
That's
If
what
you
I'm
don't own
saying.
Half-Life by now, you're wrong.
I bought it. I
I owned
bought
it at
it.
one point, but ended up deleting it.
I actually tried streaming it on Gform Streams last month, but it didn't
I saw that,
quite
or
work
tried to
out.
see that.
I should pick it up again and just play it without streaming it. Maybe when I have some free time. How long is it?
Um, I don't know. It's got a little bit of length to it, but
Hmm.
it's certainly beatable over a weekend.
Cool, cool. I
I never
know.
played one.
What's that?
I never played the first Half-Life. I only have Half-Life 2. That's amazing. I know.
Well, I'm kind of working my way
First
to
one is
that.
actually kind of fun. Second one is a physics simulator that's not so fun. So definitely Half-Life 1 is the more fun game.
I
There's a
don't
little
know.
more
Well,
urgency in the first game, by and large, I think, just
The
because you just
pacing
keep
in
getting
2
thrown into
was really bad.
situations.
Yeah. Yeah, Half-Life 2's pacing was not so good. 40-minute riverboat or fan boat cuts just kind of driving down empty alleys, basically, canals rather. Stuff like that just kind of got tedious.
You can't
uh,
do the turbo bunny hopping thing in the first game though.
When it comes to Valve, I'm a big fan of Portal, but not much else.
they remade Half-Life 1. Like a fan group or something. They remade it, right? So, I forgot what it's called.
They had that high def pack that they released with one of the expansions, I think.
Yeah.
There was Black Mesa.
Yeah, Black Mesa. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a partial. It's the first, I don't know, a couple hours of the game or so. Like it's not a
Oh,
full scale remake yet.
that's kind of like what they did with GoldenEye Source. It's just the multiplayer portion so far. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Blue Gearbox. They made like Blue Shift or the like the one of those expansions to Half-Life 1.
Hmm?
It's
Gearbox.
possible. I'll look it up right quick.
They also did the Halo 1 PC ports. Of course, they make Brothers in Arms.
Gearbox?
Yeah,
Yeah, they did Borderlands, didn't they?
Borderlands,
Their
right?
Halo PC or their Halo PC release was the biggest resource hog ever.
Oh, I
It
know.
was impossible to get that download
I
to
tried
run
to
well.
play the Halo PC version and it was yeah, it did not go well.
Yeah,
Hmm.
no,
Sluggish is a
it's
good
a
word.
mess technically. Yeah, the
Gearbox
optimization
did
is about as bad as anything ever.
Opposing Force and Blue Shift.
Blue Shift. Someone's
Yeah, it was one of
typing.
the.
And apparently a canceled version of a Dreamcast port of Half-Life.
Hmm. Oh, the
There was a
Dreamcat, right?
Dreamcast version of Unreal Tournament actually. Try playing that on a single analog.
And don't forget House of the Dead, I think. Or was that Saturn? That might have been Saturn.
I think it was actually on the Dreamcast.
Hmm.
I can't be sure though.
Oh,
What
crazy,
game are we talking about?
crazy Sega.
House of the Dead. I think there was a Dreamcast version, but I'm not sure.
I thought it was Saturn.
I know there was a terrible House of the Dead movie that I never saw.
See, House of the Dead was Dreamcast, and the original House of the Dead was Saturn.
Okay, yeah, it did come out on Saturn. Yeah, I thought it was the Dreamcast, but
And
no, it
then,
was the Saturn.
The first one came out on Saturn, and then the sequel hit the Dreamcast.
Oh, okay,
which
that's
one
And
was
why.
now they
Typing of the
published
Dead
it.
on? Was that Dreamcast?
Um, I think there's a PC port now, isn't there?
Yeah, it was originally for PC, and then they put it on Dreamcast, I'm pretty sure.
I see arcade, Dreamcast,
I was right.
Mac, PC. There's 4 different versions on the PC,
Huh.
It's even on the
and then a
iPhone
PS2
OS.
version.
I didn't realize that Typing of the Dead was ever anything but a PC game. Because it's typing, you know?
The Mac version is entitled "The Typing of the Dead" for Mac.
Hmm.
But apparently
That's
for PC,
right.
there's the original 2 EX, and featuring some long Japanese name.
EX, that's a game that needs to come out here. Oh, wow.
The Japanese corruptions of English words are always funny. Typingu oba za dedo.
Oh, those crazy Japanese people.
So that happens when you
I-
force other languages on different speech patterns.
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah, Blue Shift, Gearbox. Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. They need to get with the program and speak English already.
Gearbox. They did the.
That's ass writing system of theirs too.
They finished Duke Nukem, didn't they?
Yep,
Yeah, they did
Uh,
finish
Yes,
Duke
they
Nukem.
did.
the one we don't talk about.
If
Well,
they gave
that's
it to
every
me for
Duke
free,
Nukem
I'd play
except
through it.
3D.
I loved 3D. I only played it for the first time a couple years ago, but I love that game.
I had it on my laptop way back in the day. That was a good time killer.
Yeah. It was pretty decently long too. Very linear, but
Yeah, well,
pretty
it's
decent.
funny because you start out in the city and then you end up in outer space somewhere, and
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Goofy as all hell, which is part of the fun. Is that it's I think it's one of the first games I can remember that's very intentionally self-aware and just has a good time.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's really ridiculous, but I remember playing it when it was still new. Everybody was all offended by the content, and
Oh yeah,
can you
because
play
the
this, can
strippers
you
would
not?
flash you and you could pee in the toilet and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, I was always a Doom guy, so
I've seen
the speed change was a little much for me.
the trailers for the old versions of Duke Nukem Forever actually looked really cool. It's a shame they never released those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that,
Duke
that
Nukem Forever ended up being some kind of weird amalgam of several different intended games, and it didn't go that well.
To say the least.
Mm.
that game would have gotten totally different reception if it had come out in 2004. You know what I mean? It's just that all Gearbox did was like put a coat of paint on it. They didn't really change anything. This was just a cash in, and it sold 1 million copies. So I mean,
Jeez.
Did it?
it's not. Yeah,
Wow. That's
Well, I
kind
think
of
it just
terrible.
sold based purely on name recognition.
Name recognition
That's
from
right.
like over a decade ago.
But I mean, you can imagine most of the people that were playing Duke Nukem 3D or whatever Manhattan Project or whatever the other ones were,
Hmm.
like they're probably still playing. So like, it's Duke Nukem. Surely it can't be that bad.
dun dun dun.
And then they were proven wrong, but that's an entirely different conversation.
I played the demo and I wasn't that horrified by it, but it just was kind of like, well, this plays like it's from 2002. You know?
I was really disappointed by the demo. I was just like, okay, the demo's free. We'll try it out. No, it was just really underwhelming. Like it just didn't feel right.
Yeah, for sure. Wasn't there a 2D Duke Nukem game?
Um,
I vaguely, I think the oldest ones were 2D.
yeah, it started as a 2D game.
Yeah,
Oh,
3D was the first shooter version,
okay.
maybe.
I remember playing the original
Yeah,
Duke.
there were 2 Duke Nukems before 3D,
Hmm.
but those are way old. I don't even know if they were. I think those are even side scrollers.
Yeah, their sides
Yeah.
they were like for DOS or something, I think.
Yeah, the original was a 1991 release on the PC
Oh,
So that was
by good
before.
old Apogee Software.
Yeah. I remember
Oh
playing
wow,
that and
that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Commander Keen
Oh, yeah.
a lot. Those were the days.
I remember the 2D Commander Keen games.
Yeah.
See, I don't remember that.
Those are you pick those up. I think you pick those up on Steam now. They're awkward to play, but
Hmm.
they're there.
Hmm.
There were a lot of Duke Nukem games.
What was the one Epic did? Jazz Jackrabbit or something? Way back in the day?
The name is familiar, but it wasn't something I played.
It was like Epic's
I don't-
first game. Cliffy B's first game.
Gears of War.
According to
Game Boy
some
now. There's a Game Boy Advance version of Jazz Jackrabbit. A Mac version.
you
There's
could
some PC
very
versions.
easily retitle that and sell it as a porno. I'm not gonna say how you could retitle it, but
Because it takes so much effort to figure it out.
yes, I'll leave it to your
Yeah.
imaginations.
Only a very clever person could ever noodle their way through that.
1994. Ye olde days. I try not to think of how far back 1994 is now.
Holy cow. Epic. Their first
In
game.
1994, I was just a wee lad in grade school.
Yeah.
Was that a Scottish accent?
It might have been.
He was about to cross the bounds into middle school.
He was Scottish in middle school, but he grew out of it.
Oh, immigrant.
Hey man, some of the family is from Scotland. It was just like 7 generations ago. We lost the accent over those several hundred years.
Once in a while, a little bit of it comes out.
It
Exactly.
sneaks out a little bit.
I
Hey,
think-
hey, Mallys. Have you ever played Planescape Torment?
It's not like the best game ever, according to some people.
Yeah. The
I will
story,
admit
it's
to
like,
knowing all but nothing about it.
oh, it's like Diablo, but more story. It's actually, you know what? It's like Baldur's Gate / Diablo, and it's like heavy text. And the whole thing is like real hardcore philosophy, the meaning of life kind of thing. So this was like one of the most popular games ever made by Black Isle Studios. And I was just read in the news that there's actually going to be a sequel to it, maybe. And I was like, I better play it before that comes out because it's been out for like 15 years or 13 years.
You
Hey,
know
play
what
that,
sequel
Joel?
I'm excited for?
It's 99.
Mirror's Edge 2. That's what I'm excited for.
Oh yeah.
That is something that needs to come out.
I
Did,
think
uh,
it
did, did anyone else play it besides me?
played the demo.
Nope.
Hmm.
I
You
think I
need to
own
play
it.
It can be very frustrating at times, but it can also be completely brilliant at times. And with a little bit of ironing out, a sequel could be completely amazing.
But they got to stick with that visual style.
Yeah, if they change it, then it'd be like basically what happened with The Darkness 2, where the first one had a really distinct visual style that worked, and the second one was like, well, fuck that, we're gonna do this a different way. And it just doesn't work.
What are we talking about?
Mirror's Edge 2. I know you
Oh.
didn't play the first one because
I could have played the first one. It was on PC. Don't rule it out.
It looked like a neat game. I just never found reason or the urge to get it.
Honestly, Chad being so excited about it kind of turned me off a bit. If I have to
It
tell you.
was.
Chad's crazy.
Sorry, Chad.
It's
Love you, Chad.
good.
People actually listen to
I'm
all
indifferent
this.
to you, Chad.
It's 50-50
I don't know.
chance.
You know, if he doesn't listen, then we should feel free to say everything we want about him, because obviously he doesn't
Oh.
care.
Well, I'm down
Well,
for that
Joel-
anyway, but okay.
He can come on and defend himself one day.
He used to be on the early episodes, and now he just doesn't want to do it anymore.
Yep.
Lazy. Lazy dude.
Mm-hmm. Where's
He's out there
Tabitha?
manhunting. He's got no time for Gcasts.
I don't even know what he's
Where's
up to. Is he still in college? Is he still working
I don't
at,
know.
what was it? Winn-Dixie?
No, that's me.
No, he used to work there.
Oh, I don't. I used to work there too.
Oh, did you work
Where at?
together? You could have worked together, not even known it.
Probably not. I've never worked with anybody, Chad.
Maybe Chad isn't his real name and he's been lying to us this whole time.
Wait, what place?
Winn-Dixie.
Winn-Dixie.
What's that?
It's
It's
like
a grocery store
market.
chain in the southeast.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's why I haven't heard of it, because I don't live over there.
Me neither, but...
I officially ended my tenure last Tuesday.
Oh, congratulations.
awesome?
Well, it's a good thing I have a backup plan. It didn't just quit out of the blue.
Oh, that's what I figured. You seem like a more sensible person than just saying, screw it, I quit. You know.
Although,
There were
watching
days.
people come into work completely drunk and then quit just because they're mad about something momentary is always a good time.
We had that happen a couple of times.
Yep, happened at my work about 3 months ago. Guy walks in. You can smell that he's been drinking about 10 feet away. Says, I'm tired of this shit. Takes half the stuff out of his locker, leaves the other half behind, and we never see him again.
We had one guy that came in. He was so bad, and well, at least I'm here. Everybody else just keeps calling. I said, they said you're drunk. Go home. Like, just go home and stay, because you're not gonna be here.
Well, you're about to go on vacation. A vacation so long that I don't expect we'll see you here again.
It still feels like I'm on vacation.
That is the one part about not working that is kind of nice.
Yes. Over this summer, that was kind of nice. When I didn't have a job.
Still, the last time I was unemployed for any length of time was in 2009. I was unemployed for like 7 months.
I've had this job since summer of 2004.
Mhm.
Wow.
Wait, Sarge, were you looking that whole time? Or you just were like, well, I'll take a break.
For a good while I wasn't, because I didn't really want another job at the time. Well, I didn't need one. So, but then it took me about 3 months once I started looking.
I
It
haven't
doesn't help
worked.
that I don't have my degree in what I want just yet.
I have my degree. I'm just gonna go get another one.
Hmm. Once I
Oh.
finish with mine, then I'll be able to go do what I want to do. It's just a matter of getting there. At least the curriculum is interesting. I'm done with finished general ed, so I don't have to do any more stupid crap. Like, no more statistics classes, no more biology, no more stupid crap. Nope.
I'm
Linguistics.
so glad to leave some of that behind. Linguistics?
Yep. Linguistics. That is the fun stuff.
Sounds interesting.
Chomsky will be your mentor.
Yeah, but he'll be dead before I finish college.
Don't say that.
Hey man, it depresses me too, but that's just how it is. He's already
I know.
wasting away.
I know.
Okay. I think we'll bookend it here. I really like this episode. This episode was pretty hot, guys. We should try and do this more
Yeah.
often. I think.
Definitely.
It's with the voice, man. You just got all weakness.
Maybe next time I'll join in from the beginning.
Maybe. Or maybe.
And maybe next time certain other people named Tabitha who get invites will actually accept them.
Maybe.
No, I think she popped in for a second.
No,
Did
I was like she
I
did.
tried adding her, but she was busy.
Excuses.
Freaking
We're not
Probably
enough.
busy playing Halo 4
freaking females and their
and their Halo 4.
Halo 4 exactly. their ovaries and whatever else they have.
One of these days you'll find out. Don't worry.
All right, shut the hell up.
Okay.
Y'all are so terrible.
Yeah. Thanks, D-bags.
What did I do?
I should have. You were late. That's what you did, and
Oh, I'm sorry. I had an emergency phone call that just popped up.
Brandon is the only one who isn't on my kill while they're sleeping list. That could change at any moment.
That means a lot.
So don't get too comfy there.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody. Everybody say goodbye.
Yep.
Farewell.
See ya.
Nice.